Hey hotties, how are you guys? I hope you are well. I am live. I'm live right now. I'm live because this week we have so much going on. I start every live like that. I'm always like, guys, I know I don't always say this, but there's a lot going on astrologically. Hi, my love, thank you for joining. But there's a lot going on. Wait, am I on Lali La Luna's account? Yes, okay, good. Every time I go live, I'm like, am I on my personal account? Beautiful. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on, what we can expect out of this week, and just like to validate you, because if you're feeling crazy, if you're feeling insane, literally same, but also if you're feeling like there's sort of like, the only way I can describe it, oh, thank you for joining, is like the rumbling under the surface. Like there's this feeling of like immense change coming on, but you can't quite put a shape to it or a vision to it. And like, that's exactly what's going on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why we may be feeling that way, what we're walking towards, how to walk alongside it, and also some journaling prompts to work with. So the very first thing that I want to say is that this week we have the full moon in Aquarius, but like that is one part of like 12 like trillion things that is going on that I feel like are really affecting the way that we're probably like experiencing emotionally. Gears are turning. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And the thing is, if you are in any degree like not uncomfortable with this energy, but if you're over what we've been feeling for the past like however many weeks, honestly, Cancer season was so much. Know that we are about to embark on such immense shift in energy and like just change. We're gonna feel physically what it means to step into change. Cancer season was a lot of purging, a lot of tears, a lot of surrendering of like, I had attachment to plan, and I'm kind of just, I have to forfeit my like attachment to that plan and really experience my emotions. A lot of shadow work, a lot of inner child healing. And we are probably still sort of like coming back from that, but we're stepping into something that is so beautiful because of the fact that we are stepping into Leo season, which I'm not saying that the season isn't going to be its own version of a lot, but we're going to like at least stop crying for a second. Have you guys been crying? I had this one friend that was like, I've been crying for 9 days straight. And I'm like, honey, I've been crying for 8 days straight. But it was an experience of purging. There was so much that we had to look at. There was so much that we had to process, because now we're sort of stepping into a space of empowerment. And I think the most important thing that I really, really, really want to like cement in that this energy, like this astrological energy is really putting at the forefront, is this idea that especially after all of the questioning that could have happened in regards to our worth during that Cancer season, Leo season is here to say, who are you when you place no conditioning on your power, right? I think that we can sort of like come up with ideas of who we are when we are our most aligned, most empowered versions of ourselves, right? What we look like physically, what we're doing professionally, the experiences that we're having, what our relationship looks like, who we are when we're our most empowered, always tends to be something that is like within reach or something that we need to like walk towards. And so what Cancer moving into Leo season really is bringing to the forefront is like, what does it mean to know that your power is something innate? What does it mean to know that like your power is not something that is built upon, but rather like assumed, remembering, right? I think this whole spiritual journey is not about learning, but rather like unlearning. And so what does it mean for you to unlearn all the conditioning that you placed on your power and to remember that who you are in this very moment, in this second, is enough, and to work from that energy, to know that there's still goals you can walk towards, right? You can always better yourself. You can always, create more things for yourself. But who are you when you're already bringing that power with you instead of waiting to arrive towards it? So that's the main thing that I wanted to talk about. But otherwise, we have so much going on. So Venus this week is moving into the sign of Virgo alongside Mars, which I also want to say, have any of you guys been like overspending or doing a lot of like retail therapy? Because I have been spending so much money, it's actually really embarrassing. And Venus and Virgo, a beautiful thing that's going to bring into the forefront is like having discipline and responsibility when it comes to our finances, but also just like, what is your relationship? Because, child, not me going all over the place. The thing about it is a big lesson and theme to be assumed right now is balance. Yes, but that's the norm. I mean, we love indulging. But what I will say is that balance is at the forefront right now. And so having the sun move into Leo and then having Venus and Mars move into Virgo is kind of like, where is the middle ground between being seen and having some sort of relationship with like intimacy, right? Like in what ways have you been overindulging, and in what ways have you not allowed yourself to like even taste a treat, right? And in what ways, especially with Venus and Virgo, in what ways can you be more, not conservative, but in what ways have you been expending your energy in a way that you need to reel it back in? And Leo season is coming to say, well, alongside that, in what ways have you been hiding yourself that you need to be seen a bit more? I struggle with spending money mainly because it's fake. Money is a construct. I don't even know what it is exactly. And it's meant to be spent because it'll come back to you. But I will say that responsibility is definitely something to be honored right now. So yeah, I think especially with that Venus and Virgo, we want to look at the ways in which we've been giving ourselves too much, or rather exposing ourselves too much, right? There's a level of intimacy with self that I think is going to kind of be at the forefront, but also knowing that like there are things about us that we may be concealing that people need to experience, right? If there's creative projects, if there's ways that you want to like, you know, write or come from a space of like leadership, if there's things that you want to share with the world that you haven't felt comfortable, that you haven't felt like it's not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not professional enough, I don't have like the certification or the confidence or whatever the case, Leo season is coming to say, honey, that power is not something that you figure out. It's not something you study for. It's something that you are. It's something that you embody. It's something that you choose within this very moment. So share it. But if there are other ways in which you've been sharing yourself too much that is actually depleting you, reel that back in. So like balance is definitely at the forefront. But yeah, like in what parts have been overexposed, and how can you dance with modesty a little bit? And also, like I said, finding a budget. I think Venus and Virgo really wants you to build towards something sustainable. So if you've been like not at all thinking about like the repercussions of overspending or overindulging, middle ground. That's all I'm gonna say. I think that sometimes we can live on ends of extremes, right? Like if, for example, I've had a lot of goals related to like body image, right? Like I'm like, there's a version of myself that I want to walk towards. But sometimes if I either restrict too much, or if I say, you know what, I don't care, I'm just going to overindulge, I always find myself in like the wrong place. So it's important to find like, what does a middle ground look like when you are honoring modesty and indulging, and when you are indulging without dishonoring your modesty. Now, I want to say that Cancer season was so much. Also, it's worth noting that if you have any major planets in any fixed signs of like Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, or Scorpio, you're really going to feel this full moon. And what is so beautiful about it is the fact that it's going to radically change so much of what you know your reality to be right now, but we cannot pinpoint exactly what it's going to look like. And I think that's the most important lesson to be learned right now. I think a lot of times we can pour a lot of our comfort into control, right? Like, as long as I know what the plan looks like, as long as I know where I'm going to be and what I'm going to be doing and who will be there, I'll be fine. But this, you know, Aquarius being ruled by Uranus, however you want to pronounce it, darling, has everything to do with like what's unexpected, what's radical, what's revolutionary, and like ultimately shakeups and surprises. So knowing that things are going to radically shift, but you're not exactly going to know what that looks like, is the big lesson to be learned here. Are you comfortable with not having control over everything? Are you comfortable not knowing what the path exactly looks like, but knowing that you can just be led to take one step forward and see where that step takes you? And I think what is beautiful about this is that Leo and Venus and Virgo and Mars and Virgo as well are coming to say, if you cannot control anything of what's going on externally, what you can control is who you are showing up as and how you are responding to it. And if you have an anchored reality within your power, if you are always committing to choosing your power, you will be fine. So like getting a really clear image of like, who am I when I know my power, when I know my worth, when I'm not placing conditioning on my worth, when I'm not overthinking my worth, when I'm not forfeiting to insecurity or forfeiting control to how others perceive me, to how my parents are going to think about this, to how my partner is going to think about this. Who am I when I'm simply living within my power, and like honoring it and knowing that I'm enough and that I'm worthy, knowing that everything around you has nothing to do with that, cannot force that, cannot fix that, cannot mess that up, but that you are anchored in that reality and in that knowing, you'll be totally fine. I think we all are really deserving of change. I also want to say, with this being an Aquarius, we're going to see like a lot of like collective shift. In particular, I think like in politics, especially in relation to like this pandemic, but outside of like what's going on collectively on a personal level, it also has to do with, if you guys know your rising signs, I can like say where it's going to hit you, like what house it'll hit you in. But overall, with so much shift that's going to be happening in the reality and the attachments and the relationships that you know yourself and identify with, are you okay with knowing that however that looks like is without of your control, but what is within your control is who you are and how you relate to yourself, what your inner dialogue sounds like, how you're letting yourself express, how are you actually like putting out what you know you deserve to be putting out, right? If you're creative or if you're an artist, really coming back to like, I at the very least can choose my power. Because truthfully, yeah, girl, there's so much to say, darling. The thing is, with the full moon, everything about it has to do with release, right? So as long as we have the intention of who we want to be within our power, it's not about what we're going to do to get there, but rather what are we going to stop doing that impedes us from getting there, right? So like, if I know that me and my power is someone who radically believes in everything that I do, what is impeding me from standing in that? Like, is it my inner dialogue? Is it people around me that are like, anchoring me down? Whatever like needs to be released in order for you to seamlessly stand within your power is kind of something that needs to be focused on in terms of releasing, because this is a big, big opportunity for release. But otherwise, I can't stress enough how this is like a catalyst for such large change. This isn't like I'm stepping into like a new chapter or like a new phase of my life. Like, you're stepping into a new era. Like, this is a brand new season. If you think of yourself as like the main character and like, shows have seasons, like season 5, babe, we're starting up season 5. So within that context, within that knowing, how are you going to make sure that this new season doesn't bring any baggage? And especially with Aquarius, which is, air, so it rules very much like the cerebral. Like, I'm not bringing any outdated ways of thinking. I'm not bringing in old habits. I'm not bringing in anything that I've outgrown mentally, emotionally, and spiritually into this new season. And if you've been craving change, if you've been feeling like I need a change in routine, a change of environment, really work alongside this energy, because ultimately, like, the universe is co-creating alongside you. So it's going to give you fertile soil for you to implement change, but there's also a level of like action that needs to be taken as well, and choice needs to happen alongside it. So yes, like the planets are pushing us to move forward, but you also need to realize, like, what do I have my grip on that really, really, really needs to be let go? And that can be something physical, it can be something mental, it can be a person, a place, a thing, a job, but know that like it's just simply time, because this is the time where we are really going to stand in like a new era, a new way of being. Fertile soil. Yes, honey. I love that, and I'm feeling it. I'm so excited. But yeah, it's everything right now. If I could bubble it down into words, it's like radical change and the choice that we make in relationship to that radical change. And within that choice, are you choosing and committing to your power? Are you choosing to believe in yourself? Are you choosing to self-condition your worth instead of placing that conditioning on anything outside of you? And are you allowing yourself to believe that you're already enough? Hi, thank you for joining. So yeah, it's a really important time. I have a couple of journaling prompts if you guys are journalers, if you want to like explore it. I think the first one being, what does my relationship with control look like? Because it's important to get to the root of like, because of the fact that so much of this is unpredictable, I wish that I could give you like a cemented outlook of what this full moon in Aquarius is going to feel like. But all I can say is that it's going to be really revolutionary, a lot of change, like just a lot of shift in what we find comfort in. And so are you comfortable with releasing that sense of control? Are you comfortable with like embracing, taking a leap of faith and embracing the unknown? And are you comfortable knowing that what I can control is how I show up and how I relate to myself, what I think about myself, and self-defining my worth? So if you can sort of like find peace within that, this is going to move seamlessly for you. And once again, if you have any major fixed placements, you're really going to be feeling this. I am an Aquarius Sun, Leo Moon, so I am already feeling everything. But after that Cancer season, like of just nonstop crying, I'm like, give me any sort of shift and I'm good. So, but yeah, I thought my earring, it did fall out. I love that for me. You see, that is right there. That's Uranus. I can't trust it. But change is happening collectively and personally. So look at the ways in which like groups and communities you're part of are going to shift, but ultimately personally, this is stepping into a new era. And so what I love to do whenever I know that I'm like moving into a season of change, I love to like give it a theme. I love to give it a name. I love to give it a title. I love to give it a color scheme. So like right now, how you can sort of like navigate knowing that things are going to shift is like finding peace and like, okay, well, you know, what do I want to call in this next era? You know, how do I want to stand in my power? You know, do I want to be more artistically expressive? Do I want to actually start putting myself out there, start dating? You know, do I want to adorn my body with more intention? Really like coming up with an idea of how you want to show up, and knowing that the environment you'll be in, the relationships with people and the places and the things and the opportunities are going to align with that. Color scheme. Yeah, I've been feeling like I don't know what all of that is going to look like, but I do know that oranges are coming along with me. Like, I'm really feeling oranges right now. Green, period, because you are money. You are money. You are abundance. It's important to embody what it is that we're calling in. Yeah, so the first prompt, I don't know if I ever said this, I'm all over the place. The first prompt to be, you know, what does my relationship with control look like? And if I find a lot of comfort in control, why is that? You know, what makes me uncomfortable with the unknown? A second one would be, you know, in what ways have I forgotten or forfeited my power? Because like I said, Leo season is coming to say, baby, honey, you are money. You are that bitch. And whatever you have forfeited that truth to, like, call it back. Call it back. Are you joking? And then ultimately, who am I choosing to be within this next chapter? Which I think aligns with that question of power. Like, if in this next chapter I am choosing to commit to my power, what does that look like? And what does it mean for me to live within that knowing? So yeah, I don't want to keep essentially saying the same thing over and over, but definitely work with this full moon in Aquarius. I believe it's either Thursday or Friday. I'm forgetting. I'm supposed to host an event, so I have to like remember. But I will say that really, really, really focusing on, like, I think first step, especially with that moon and that sun in Leo, is figuring out what it feels like, what it looks like, and what it is when I'm in my power. And then with this moon in Aquarius, figuring out what you need to release that is impeding you and standing within that energy. So for me, it's been my inner dialogue fully. I have just been at battle with my own mind. Literally every single thing that I do, there's like 12 different voices up in here that are like against me. So I realized that, like, I've been forfeiting my power to, like, just a toxic inner dialogue. And so it's really important that I be intentional with releasing that for this full moon, because me stepping into this new era is being the most radically supportive of myself. So yeah, that's basically it. Balance, radical change, choosing your power, standing in it, and knowing that what life looks like right now, what your routine looks like, what your environment, what your relationships look like right now. Be comfortable with that radically changing, and be comfortable with knowing that not all of it is going to be within your control. And sometimes control is just comfort zone, and control keeps you stagnant, and control keeps you from experiencing bravery. And right now we need to be as brave as we possibly can with how we're showing up, and knowing that life lived at its fullest potential means having a sense of bravery, surrendering control, and knowing that there's something guiding you, and that if that something guiding you is like your future self that already understands that power is something assumed and remembered rather than achieved, then, like, be led by that energy until it's natural. I have just been saying words, so I hope that some of that made sense. Let me know if that resonated. Of course, obviously I offer one-on-one, so if you ever want to explore what this is looking like in relationship with your personal chart, please reach out. But otherwise, I'm sending you guys all my love. It's a time, baby. It's a time, and I'm feeling it all. I've had 12 emotions in the past, like, 2 hours. Like, I'm just feeling everything, but I'm feeling it alongside you guys. So yeah, you're not alone, and I'm sending you all my love. That is all. Have a good week, guys. Bye.